this is lecture 13, unit 2, design of singly reinforced cantilever beam. Now the problem goes like this. A cantilever beam of clear span 2 meter is subjected to an UDL of 10 kilonewton per meter together with a point load of 20 kilonewton at its free end. The width of the beam is 250 mm. Design the beam for flexure. If the grade of concrete and steel respectively are M20 and Fe415. Is it clear? So you have to be as soon as you read the question, you mark the important points here. The cantilever beam you have to design, and the given span is a clear span, it's not effective span, and it is subjected to an UDL and a point load, and both are service loads. Now the width of the beam is 250 mm, and design the beam for flexure is given. Okay, only for bending your design. Concrete grade and steel grades are given. Okay, so I'm not going to fully solve this problem, but because yesterday we have seen the design fully, but I will go through each steps quickly. So as usual, the given data, first step will be a given data. So it is a cantilever beam of clear span L. Remember in the earlier problem it was effective span was given, so I have written L effective. Here it is clear span, so I have written only L. B is width of the beam is 250 mm. UDL intensity is given as small w. I am writing small w. I am not writing WU. W means service load. WU means design load or factored load. Okay. So when I write W, it is automatically, it means it is a service load. Similarly, a point load at free end is given as 20 kilonewton. Let us say this is P, capital P. If it is PU, it is a factored load. Okay. So these are all service load only. This W and P, these are all service load. Now your grade of concrete is 20, grade of steel is 415, so that's fine. So you draw this in a schematic way. The clear span is from the face of the support to the free end of the cantilever, that is 2 meters. And UDL is given as 10 kilonewton per meter, and point load is given as 20 kilonewton, right? Remember, this load is not including the self weight of the beam, right? So you have to calculate the self weight. Once you can calculate the self weight only if you know the span is fine, width is given. Unless you know that the depth of the beam, you cannot find the self weight of the beam. So as I discussed yesterday, if you draw the shear force diagram for the cantilever beam, it will be something like this. 20 kilonewton. Here will be the total load. Total load is 10 into 2, it is 20 plus 20. That will be, here it will be 40. Here it will be 20. Okay. But if you draw the bending moment diagram, your bending moment is the free end is 0. But at the fixed end will be, it will come bending moment due to this UDL, bending moment due to this point load. Okay. So now, since you are designing only for the flexure, since the bending moment at the free end is 0, the bending moment is 0, and maximum at the fixed end, this is the fixed end, the beam can be designed for maximum bending moment, and the minimum depth can be provided at the free end. So you don't have to provide the same depth from here to, like in this one, I have shown the depth of the beam is same here also, at the fixed end also, at the free end also, the depth of the beam is same. But you don't necessarily have to maintain the same depth, because it is a waste of material, right? Because bending moment is also 0, shear force also half the shear force from the fixed end. So you can only need the minimal depth here. Okay. But in some cases they may provide just for the ease for the easiness in construction, they will provide same depth everywhere. But it doesn't have to be full depth. So our first step is to find out the overall depth of the beam, because we have to find out the self weight of the beam. Now, how to find out the overall depth of the beam? As we mentioned, since the self weight of the beam is not ordered to the load, we have to find out the self weight of the beam. Therefore, find the overall depth of the beam first. So from 23.2.1a of IS 456-2000, you can, I told you yesterday itself, for a simply supported beam, the L by D ratio is 20. Similarly, for a cantilever beam, span by effective depth ratio should be less than or equal to 7. Okay, the value given there was a maximum value, so you can have a less than or equal to value. So I know span is 2 meters. 2 meter means 2000. Most of the time students make mistake. Instead of 2000 they write in terms of 2 by 7. Then it should be meter. Okay, so 2000 is in millimeters divided by 7. There is 285.71 millimeter is coming out to be, as per the span to effective depth ratio, your depth is coming out to be 285.71 millimeters. But I am providing a DS 410 millimeters. Is that clear? I will let you know why I am providing 410 millimeters. Why not 300 mm or 350 mm or something like that? You will yourself understand in a little bit of time. Okay. Let us say I provided 410 mm. Now, assume an effective cover as 40 mm. To make it as a 450 mm, I am assuming an effective cover as 40 mm. Okay. As I told yesterday, you can assume any value for D, any value for effective cover, but the cover should be minimum of clear cover should be minimum of 20 mm. So effective cover will be 20 plus half the diameter of the main rod, right? So accordingly, you have to assume. You cannot assume an effective cover as 10 mm, 15 mm. That you cannot do it. Minimum clear cover is 20 mm as per if you see in the code for a mild exposure condition. Minimum cover is given as 20 mm clear cover. So effective cover is clear cover plus the half the diameter of the largest bar. Okay. So at least it should be more than 25 like that. Okay. So you can assume appropriately. I assume 40, you can assume 30, 35, any value you can assume. Okay. So that is why it's a design is not, will not have a unique answer, it will have a different answer. But you have to write down all the assumptions very clearly, and you should also write down wherever you are writing this kind of sentence, you should give the reference from where you are taking. Like for example, here I have written 23.1 of IS 456. This specification has come, so you have to refer to the code all the time in your answer. In the exam also, you should write down wherever you are taking data from, you should write down. So here D is 410 mm, so this is 40 mm. So overall depth is effective depth plus the effective cover, so 450 mm. Remember, this 450 mm is required at the fixed end. At the free end, you can reduce it. You don't have to provide the same 450 mm all throughout the span. You can reduce this depth of the beam at the free end, because free end has a 0 bending moment. Okay. So D is equal to 450 mm is at the fixed end. That's why I written here. Provide over 450 mm at the fixed end and 250 mm at the free end of the beam. Okay. So that is my depth. I have found out the depth 450 mm. 250 mm I have taken arbitrary. You can have any value, but obviously it cannot have a very small values, because you will have a reinforcement at the top, reinforcement at the bottom. So you have to have a clear cover, effective cover and all. So I have provided 250 mm. You can provide 300 mm, you can provide 400 mm, you can provide 350 mm, you can provide 200 mm also, as long as you are able to satisfy all the specification given in IS 456. Now, once the depth is over, I can calculate the self weight, everything, to find out the factored bending moment. So next step is find out factored bending moment. So remember, factored bending moment is always written M suffix U. Okay. For that, what was my given live load UDL? UDL on the beam WLL, that is LL stands for live load. whatever the load is given, that is live load. That is given as 10 kilonewton per meter in the question itself. Next, self weight also will be acting as an UDL, as I told you yesterday, because your self weight of the beam, it is not that only it will be in one point. Beam has a weight at each and every point along the span, so that is why it will be indicated as a UDL. So now how will this? Let us say this is the beam. This span is 2 meter. This width is 250 mm is given in the width of the beam is given as 250 mm. This width, perpendicular width is 250 mm here also, and 250 mm here also. Width is same, but depth of the free end I have taken 250 mm. At the fixed end I have taken 450 mm. So now, what is the self weight of the beam? Self weight. This is given as WDL. DL stands for dead load. DL stands for dead load or self weight. So how will you find out volume into weight density, right? Now how will you find out volume of this? This is I am going to write everything in terms of kilonewton and meters. So I know the length is 2 meters. Length is 2 meters. Width is 0.25. That I know. But the depth here is 250 mm. Depth here is 450 mm. So I can find out what is the average depth. So 0.45 plus 0.252 is the average depth. So average depth multiplied by the width multiplied by the length will give me the total volume of this entire beam for a span of 2 meters. Multiplied by this weight density is 25 of reinforced. Remember, you go back and refer to the first lecture where in IS 875 part 2 dead load is given as weight density for RCC is given as 25 kilonewton per meter cube. So if you multiply all this value, you get 4.375 kilonewtons total. The entire weight of this entire beam is 4.375 kilonewton. But as I mentioned, self weight also will be represented by the UDL. So you know how will you change to this is a cantilever. This total UDL, if you transform, that is 4.375 kilonewton. How will I find out in terms of UDL? So total load divided by the span, this 2 meter. So this is a total UDL, capital W, total live load, dead load, this is dead load. This is capital WDL is 4.375 kilonewton for the entire beam. But UDL will, self weight will be acting at each and every point. So I have to represent in terms of UDL. So small WDL is equal to total weight divided by span. So obviously 4.375 divided by 2 is coming out to be 2.188 kilonewton per meter. Please let me know if there is any doubt to anybody. Suppose if you have a same depth, you can easily width into depth into length. In length, you can take 1 meter length, you can find out easily in terms of kilonewton per meter. But here, because it is a length is varying length, you have to find out what is the total weight divided by the span. It will give you in terms of kilonewton per meter. Any doubt to anybody here at this point?
Sir.
Yes.
Hello. Yes, sir. Self weight inko sir. Self weight cheppandi sir inko sir.
Self weight means volume multiplied by weight density, right? Now, how will you find out the volume of a beam which is the cross section is same throughout, but your depth is varying along the span in a trapezoidal manner or a linear manner. So, if I want to find out average depth will be something like this. I am doing like this, right? This will become an average depth. That is, this average depth is this 450 mm plus 250 mm divided by 2 will become the average. That will become a kind of a rectangle. Okay. So this is my average depth. Average depth. 250 mm is the width, and length is 2 meter, multiplied by unit weight of reinforced concrete is so many kilonewton, 25 kilonewton per meter cube. So because this is 25 kilonewton per meter cube, all these dimensions should be in meter cube only, this volume. So it is coming out to be 4.375 kilonewton for an entire beam. It is 4.375 kilonewton, and the span of the beam is 2 meter. So what will be for what? You are converting into an UDL because you take any part of the beam. If I take only this much beam, that much weight will be there. So I am going to find out what is the total. This 4.357 kilonewton is a total UDL. Actually, it should be represented by a dotted line. This is a 4.375 kilonewton that is acting as an UDL. So what is the UDL intensity? UDL intensity is total weight divided by total load divided by the span. So total is 4.375 divided by span. It is 2.188 or 1875 like that it will come 2.188 kilonewton per meter. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Clear, sir.
Okay, fine. So now I found out 2.188 kilonewton per meter. Remember, these both are UDL. This also UDL. This also this. This is a live load. Whatever was given in the problem is directly it's a live load. I am repeating it again and again. Please remember, the external applied load is a live load, that is 10 kilonewton per meter. Self weight of the beam is given as 2.1. You calculated as 2.188 kilonewton per meter. So total UDL is equal to, you add these together, that is 12.18 Newton per meter. Okay, that is a total UDL, and that is only service UDL. Okay, I am not putting WU. I am only writing as a small w right there. Right. Next, what is the class 22.2 C of IS 456 2000? You can find out the effective span. What is the effective span for a cantilever beam? I discussed 2 class before. In class number 22.2 C, clear span, effective span is clear span plus half the effective depth. So 2000 plus 400 by 2. This seems to be mistake here. It should be 4. Yeah. What is our this one we have taken?
410, sir.
410.
410.
So, okay, anyway, I have written 400, does not matter. 400 or 410 does not matter. Let us say 400 only. Okay. 2000 plus depth by 2, that is 2200 mm, that is effective depth. Effective span, sorry. Effective span is clear span plus effective depth by 2. So 2000 is the clear span. It is 410 or 400 is okay. I have taken another way. It's fine. You can change the DS 400 instead of 410. Okay, 400 by 2, 2200 millimeter. So now I have this beam. This is my final beam where, including self weight, my UDL is 12.188 kilonewton per meter, and the point load is given as 20 kilonewton. Okay, and my clear span is, sorry, effective span is 2.2 meter. While calculating the bending moment, remember the steps. Remember the step. You have to find out the factored bending moment. Factored bending moment is, you have to use the factored load and the effective span. So effective span is 2.2 meter, and these are the factored. Sorry, this is not factored load. What we can do is we can find out the bending moment value, and finally we can find out what is the factored moment. Now, if this is the case, how will we find out bending moment values? So I am going to show here in this whiteboard. So forget about this 10 kilonewton, 20 kilonewton. Okay, so instead of 10, you have 12.188 kilonewton per meter, and this is 20 kilonewton, right? Now you can separate this into two different problem. One beam with a UDL, another beam with a point load. You know, for a cantilever beam subjected to UDL, the maximum bending moment at the fixed end is small WL square by 2, WL square by 2. This is for UDL. If you have only point load at the free end, the bending moment at the fixed end is this P into L, that is this one. So if you add these together, you will get this one. Okay. So here we are finding out maximum bending moment at the fixed end is equal to W L effective square by 2 for the UDL plus P into L effective, that is this for the point load. So if you substitute all these things, you are getting 73.5 kilonewton meter. Remember, we are only finding out M value, we will not find out MU, because if you want to find out MU, you have to use factored load. Or what you can do is, you can use the service load itself, find out the bending moment value. Then you can find out the factored bending moment M is equal to M multiplied by 1.5. So 73.5 multiplied by 1.5 is 110.25 kilonewton meters. Remember, all this W and L effective is in kilonewton and meters, so your resulting value will be kilonewton meters, and this is 110.25 kilonewton meter, so which is equal to 110.25 into 10 power 6 Newton millimeters. Okay, so this is the bending moment value. From here onwards, all the steps remain same as what we did before. Okay, any doubts so far? Anybody? Is it clear? Any doubt to anybody? Students? Okay.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, L by D ratio effective span by effective depth తీసుకున్నారు కదా సార్ నిన్న yesterday problem కి ఈరోజు clear span by effective depth తీసుకున్నారు.
The thing is, in the yesterday's problem, effective span was given to you, so that we used. In today's problem, effective span you cannot find out without knowing the depth, right? So that is why we used clear span here. Is that clear?
Okay, sir.
So actually, your code says, if you read the code says, one second, I will show you the code. Code says span to. Okay, are you able to see here? Whoever asked the question, are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
It is saying span to effective depth. Okay, so it's a clear span or effective span. According to the span that is given to you, you can take it. Okay, but the D value is effective depth. It is very clearly say span to effective depth. Yesterday problem, effective span was given, so you have taken effective span. Today you have only clear span, that's why you have taken clear span. Okay. Okay, good question. So now this is the maximum factored bending moment, 110.25 in 10 power 6 Newton millimeters. Now here on, everything will remain same. Now what is the next step? You are finding. Okay, now I will tell you the reason why you should also check for this moment if your depth is sufficient or not. Now to find the depth from the factored moment, right? Now D required is equal to under root ME by FCK. Remember, for Fe415 steel, the ME value is 0.138 FCK BD square. From that you got this one, right? Now if you substitute for all this value, D required is coming out to be how much? 399.72. Remember this, all this 399.72 is coming. What was the depth you got from the L by D ratio? Anyone remember? In the first step, we calculated span by depth ratio as 7. We got only 280 something, right? So if you provided 280 or 300, obviously your beam will not be able to take that this much 110 moment, because to take care of this 110.25 into this 10 power 6 Newton millimeters, depth required for a balanced section is 399.72. Is that clear? That is why I have taken 400 something. Is that clear? And you cannot determine MU without the value of self weight. Is that clear? So yesterday's problem, because moment was given along with the self weight, you are able to directly use this formula. In today's problem, your depth is not given, So self weight cannot be calculated. That is why we have used the span to depth ratio. But once finding the depth value, you can find out the factored moment. And your D required for a balanced section is 399.72. So if you want to make this as an under reinforced section, you have to provide D provided as 410 mm. Remember, in the first we have provided 410 mm. Actually, this is a little cyclic process. Had I provided 300 mm, this would fail. Here it will fail. So again, you have to increase the depth. Okay. I hope this is clear to all the students. If you have not understood, please ask me. Okay. So if that is clear, because in yesterday problem, bending moment you have directly found out because self weight was given to you. That load was given along with the self weight. So you found out ME value. From ME value, you found out D value. And then later on, you checked for L by D ratio. That was whether it's less than 20 or not. But here it is a reverse way because your depth is not known. You have to find out self weight. So for initial assumption of the depth, we have taken L by D ratio. And finally, D required is this much. And that is less than D provided. Okay. So suppose, let us say you have provided only 300 mm. Obviously, this D required is 399 is coming. So that is greater than 300 mm. So your design is wrong. You have to revise the depth. Okay. Revise the depth and you have to calculate the moment again. Again, you have to calculate all these values till you satisfy this relationship. So that is the depth from the factored bending moment. So next to find out the area of tension reinforcement, because D provided 410 millimeter is greater than the D required for a balanced section. Obviously, you are going to have it's an under reinforced section. Now, for under reinforced section, you know from you should write figure from G 1.1p of IS 456 2000. MU is equal to 0.87 FIAST D into 1 minus FIAST FCK BD. This value is given in this page number 96. This formula I have repeated several times. So MUR is 110.25 into 10 power 6.87 FY. AST is not known. You are going to find out AST. D is 410. 1 minus FY, FCK, BD, all these things. So you will get, as I told you, you take this 0.87 FY into the D on the other side. It will be much easier. Calculation will be much faster because in the right side you have only AST. So reduce this to a quadratic equation. If you solve this quadratic equation, you will get two values. One is 4000 something, another one is 900 something. So again, we are not going to take this 4000 higher value because we want to reduce the cost of construction and we do not want to over reinforce section. So we are not going to provide this one. So you will take this one, the minimum value of 914 millimeter square. Let us say this is required AST is 914 millimeter square, but this has to be checked for AST minimum and AST maximum. So let us say this value is A. Now sufficient that you have to check. Check for AST minimum. You know, yes. Yes, please tell.
Again, repeat the black slide, sir.
Repeat that.
Sir, their small d is equal to 410. You kept no, sir, that value.
Yes.
Is it effective depth or provided depth, sir?
This is the provided effective depth. This is the required effective depth. This is the provided effective depth. Small d is always effective depth. Only difference is it's required for a balanced section. This is the provided one. Okay. So if you provide depth more than the required for balanced section, it is under reinforced section. Okay. Or a singly reinforced section. Right. So from this we find out again this references you should write 26.5.1.8 of IS 456. AST minimum is this value. So AST minimum is equal to 200 and something 209.93 millimeter square. This is B. I told you final AST required is the largest of greatest of A and B. So A was 914, B was 209, whichever is greatest, that is 914. So and you should know this table. You should know by heart because it will not be given. This is simply the area of each and every rod. So 914, So you can see here, if I provide 3 rods of 314, I am getting 942. So that is somewhat almost close to this value. So I can choose this value. So this is only, it will come by experience. You have to play with the numbers here. So obviously you can, and as far as possible, you should have a only maximum of 2 different diameter, and the diameter of the bars also should be almost same. Okay. So here I am providing 3 number. This and all I discussed yesterday, so I am going a little fast here. So provide 3 number of 20 mm bar, or you can also find out using, as I told you yesterday, you take number of 20 mm bars is equal to total area required, AST required divided by area of 1 bar is 314. So 914 divided by 314 will come 2.8 or 9, whatever. Okay. So obviously you have to provide 2.8 above, means you have to provide 3 numbers. Okay. So this is what we have discussed yesterday. So provided area of reinforcement AST is equal to okay. So obviously I have provided 3 number of 314, that is 942 millimeter square, and I can find out the percentage of AST provided also. Percentage of AST provided is PT is equal to 100 AST provided divided by small b into small d. That is coming out to be 0.919 percentage. Okay. So obviously this is the amount of steel I provided. Remember, this should be less than the 4%. So obviously it is less than 4%. So this AST minimum we have checked, that is 2091. Minimum we should have 209. So we are providing 942. That is fine. So AST maximum is 4%. We have provided 0.919 only. That's therefore your AST provided is greater than AST minimum and less than AST maximum. So this check also very fine, right? Okay. Now this is AST max and AST minimum check. Next, we go to find out the spacing of tension reinforcement. This is same as yesterday. So again we have provided 3 number of 20. This is 250 mm. We found out that overall depth is 450 mm at the fixed end. Remember, you have to draw only for fixed end, not for the free end, because bending moment is maximum at the fixed end. So you should show the cross section of the fixed end. So 450 mm is the overall depth at the fixed end. We have provided 3 number of 20 mm bars. Right? This is so you can find out what is the, assuming mild exposure and 8 mm dive stirrups. We have calculated yesterday spacing provided as 67 mm. Okay, that is a 67 mm. XH minimum is greatest of 20 mm and 25 mm. It is given as 26.3.2. Let it is a greater diameter or 5 mm more than the diameter maximum size of nominal maximum size of the aggregate. So 20 mm or 25 mm. So it is 25 mm. So your provided is more than the 25 mm. So that is fine. And from table 16, from table 15, you have SH maximum as 180 mm for Fe415 steel and for zero distribution steel. So obviously your SH provided or the spacing provided is greater than minimum spacing required and less than the maximum spacing. So this check also fine. Okay, this is for spacing of tension reinforcement. So in all the problem, all these steps are almost same. Okay, only thing is the way you find out the bending moment value, the way you provide the reinforcement only will change. Other thing will remain same. So next, check for serviceability, control of deflection, right? For beam to be safe in deflection, as we discussed, L effective by D should be less than L effective by D, basic value multiplied by alpha, beta, gamma and zeta. So L effective is how much? 2200. L effective by D. First I am working out the right side portion. L effective by D is 7 for cantilever beam from class 23.2.1.A. That I checked here. This is 7. And correction factor for span is 1 because our span is only 2 meter. It is less than 10 meters, so your correction factor is only 1. Beta is a modification factor for tensile steel from Fiat 4 of IS 456 that we will do. Gamma modification factor for compression steel from Fiat 5. We are not providing any compression steel because your depth provided is more than the depth required for balance section. It will become a singly reinforced section, so we are not going to provide compression steel. So that factor also 1. And then modification factor for flanged beam also 1 because we are designing a rectangular beam only. We are not designing a T beam or L beam, right? So here, if you see in this particular PDF, this is T beam here. What you see here is T beam. Now this is modification factor for tensile steel here. Modification factor for tensile steel. Figure 4. Now if you see here, this is the figure 5 for modification factor for compression steel. Now if you see here, percentage of compression reinforcement at this point, if you don't provide any compression steel, that is 0. At 0% modification factor is 1. Okay, that is why we have taken 1. Similarly, this is a figure 6 for a flanged beam, right? Now here we are not ratio of web width flanged width for a rectangular beam. Web width flanged width is the same, so it will become 1. So for 1, the value is 1 here, right? In this graph, if you see, for value of 1, this is 1 because your flange width and web width is same for a rectangular beam. So this also is 1. So that is what I have written here. This one I have shown you. This one is this one is for a rectangular beam. Only thing you have to find out is beta, modification factor for tensile steel. Okay. Now that comes from your figure. This one, it's an enlarged figure from your code. All of you should know very clearly how most of the time students mistake here only. They don't know how to find the modification factor for steel. For example, Fs value is 0.58 Fy AST required divided by AST provided. So 0.58 is given in the this is given in the code just below the figure 4. It is given. Okay, you see here. If you see here, this Fs value is given. Here is Fs. Okay, so you can find out from there. So Fs equal to 0.58. Fy is a strength, yield strength 415. AST required was 914, I guess. 914 we found out AST required. Final AST required. AST provided was 942. So if you calculate that value, Fs is coming out to be 233.5 MPa. This Fs value. Along this curve, you have to look at this 233.54 is coming. Now percentage of steel provided we already found out 0.919 we found out. That is percentage of steel is always 100 AST divided by BD. So 100 into 942 divided by 250 into 410, it is 0.919. So in this graph, this is 0.8, this is 1, this is 1.2. So 0.9 will be in the middle, 0.92 will be somewhere near that. So and for Fs, so for Fs 233.54 and percentage of tensile steel 0.92, right? This is the 0.92 line. Everybody look at this carefully. If you have any doubt, you ask. This is 0.8. This line is 0.8. This is 1.2. So the middle value is 1, right? So middle of these two will be 0.9. So little close to on the right side will be 0.92. Okay. Now in this line, you see this curve is 240 curve. This curve is 190 curve. So the difference in height from here is 50 mm. 190 MPa. This is 240 MPa. So difference is 50 MPa. Your value is Fs is 233.54. So 233.54 will be somewhere close to 240. So I am taking 240 as somewhere here. So corresponding to that, this is 0.8. this is 1.2, this is 1. So it is somewhere between 1 and 1.1, somewhere I have taken as 1.03 because this is 1, this line is 1, the center will be 1.1. So my value, mine is somewhat almost 1/3 or 1/4, like I can take either 1.03 or 1.04. Okay, so if you zoom this one, see here, this is my 1. Okay, this is my 1. Oh, sorry, if I touch this, it is changing. This is 1, this is 1.2, so middle will be 1.1. So between 1.1 and 1, it is below 1.05. So you can take 1.04 or 1.03. Like that only you have to check. Okay. So that is, I have taken 1.03. Now if you see, L effective by D provided 2200 divided by 410 is the 5.365 is coming, right? Now right side you evaluate. Right side is L effective by D basic is, sorry, I have written wrongly here. I have to change. Here it is not 20, it is for a for cantilever it is 7. Although answer I written correctly, but inside I written wrongly. 7. Okay, L effective by D for cantilever is 7. Alpha 1, beta 1.03, all other things that you already know, right? Okay, so 7.21, it is 5.365. Obviously, your 5.365 is less than 7.21. Therefore, beam is safe in deflection. That's correct. Okay. Now, finally, you have to do the detailing of reinforcement. Please pay very careful attention. Now, for a cantilever beam, for a cantilever beam, this is your cantilever beam loaded externally. When you apply load, it is going to bend like this, right? Like this is going to bend. Where is the tension, at the top or bottom? Tension developed.
Top, sir.
So tension is developed at the top. So while providing the main reinforcement, so this is your this is at the top is the tension zone, bottom is the compression zone. So your reinforcement should be towards the extreme tension fiber with the effective cover. Okay, so you are this is a 250 mm. This is the cross section at the fixed end. Okay, this is the 450 mm is the cross. I have written cross section of beam at fixed end. 450 mm is the overall depth. Now you are providing effective depth is 410 mm. At this 410 mm, you are providing 3 number of 20 mm bars. Main tension reinforcement, 3 number of 20 mm bars. We are providing at the top in this here in the cantilever beam because your tension is at the top. So in the extreme tension fiber, you are providing at an effective cover of 40 mm. You are provided 3 number of 20 mm diameter bars. Is that clear to everyone? Anyone having any doubt? If there is any doubt, please let me know. I will be happy to clarify it. But again, please go back and redo everything on your own. If you don't do it, you will get thoroughly confused when you go to exam. As I told you, this will be 24 mark question. This only part, it is close to 15-16 marks. Remaining is a shear reinforcement design will be there. When we come to third unit, I am going to again take up the same problem to complete the shear part, and then finally we will draw all the drawing. This is only we have drawn cross section of the beam. After finishing third unit, we will be drawing the cross section also and also longitudinal section also. Is that clear? So, and also this hanger bar, and this is the stirrups. Okay. Now, why it is called hanger bars? This is called hanger bar because all these stirrups will be provided along the length of the beam. So, if you tie the stirrups only at the top, this may get disrupted at the bottom. The alignment may change. That is why we put two hanger bar to tie all the stirrups one by one. Okay. So somebody asked me, what is let us say instead of providing 3 number of 20 mm bars, let us say you are providing 3 number of 20 mm bar means you are providing 2 millimeter square. Okay. Let us say I have with me only 12 mm diameter bars. I don't have a 20 mm bars. I don't have. So if I provide 12 mm dia bars, dia bars. Now how many number I need? I need 914 is the area required divided by 113 because area of 120 mm broad is 113. So it is almost going to be 8 point something. How much it is? 9 point something. 8 point?
Yes, sir.
8.08.
8.08. That means you have to provide 9. Okay. So if you provide 9 number of bars, can you provide in one single row? Let us say I am providing 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. The width is available only 250 mm. Okay. So 250 mm only available. So you find out how much space already occupied. You have to provide 2 covers. Let us say clear cover is 25 mm. So this side 25 mm, that side 25 mm. Plus 2 into 8 for stirrups. Stirrups will come. Okay, round about this. So I have reduced for calculate for stirrups. Plus I have 9 number of 12 mm bars. How much this is? This is 50. This is 16. This is 120 minus 9, 101, 111. Eh? So 166, 176. 171. Eh? How much is this total? Sorry, this
151, sir.
120 minus 12. 171.
51, sir.
174.
174.
170. 174. So this is 174 already occupied. So 250 minus 174. How much it is? It is coming out to be 26, 76, right? So 76 divided by total 9 number of bars. 9 minus 1 spacing will be there. So 76 divided by 8. How much? 9.5. So you are having only 9.5 millimeter between these two rod. Is it sufficient according to the code? What is the minimum cover? Minimum cover should be diameter. Diameter is 12 mm and 5 mm plus this one maximum nominal size of the 25 mm. So minimum you have to have a cover of 25 mm, but what we are getting only 9.5. So that means you cannot provide all these 9 bar in a single row. What you have to do is I will provide like this 3 bars like this, next 3 bar like this, another 3 bar like this. So I am providing all 9. Okay. So now if you see, I have plenty of space will be there. This spacing will be equal. Now how it, okay. Is there clear how you cannot provide all 9 in one layer? Anybody having any doubt? It is a calculation. Now, let us say I will draw this beam. Okay. So this is my beam, and let us say this is my stirrups. It is very difficult to draw using this pad. Okay. Fortunately, it automatically corrects it. So now I am providing one 12 mm bar here, one 12 mm bar here, one 12 mm bar here. Now at a vertical spacing, one 12 mm bar here, one 12 mm bar here, one 12 mm bar here, one 12 mm bar. Now all these thing can be tied with the stirrups, right here. All, but how will you tie this reinforcement? So that is why whenever you have a more than one layer of reinforcement, main reinforcement, you will provide something called spacer bar here. You will provide one spacer bar. The spacer bar length will be only this much, and so in the spacer bar this will be tied. Here also one spacer bar, and the spacer bar, this diameter should be, it is given the vertical, if you see here in this code, here only somewhere 26 point. This is the maximum compression reinforcement, side-face reinforcement, spacing of shear reinforcement, minimum reinforcement. Horizontal distance. Here. Here if you see, where there are two or more rows of bar, the bar shall be vertically in line. Bar shall be vertically in line means this should be this all should be in vertically line. Okay. And the minimum vertical distance between the bars shall be 15 mm. 15 mm is this diameter this should be 15 mm diameter, or 2/3 of the nominal maximum size of the aggregate or the maximum size of the bar, whichever is greater. So nominal maximum size of the aggregate was let us say 20 mm. So 2/3 of 20, like that you have to calculate 13, 15. So like that you will calculate, and that much you will provide. That is the rod of spacer bar diameter. And this spacer bar is provided along the, for example, if you see the longitudinal section, let us say this is your beam length. Here is a hanger bar. So your here you have a first row of steel. This is the second row of steel. This is the third row of steel. In between you have this spacer bar. Okay, like this spacer bar, and the spacing is like 1 meter, 1.5 meter, like this it is there. You can provide the spacer bar at the regular interval. Okay. So with the spacer bar, these rods are tied in the in between rods. Okay. So this is the entire design. So I solved one example on simply supported beam, another example on cantilever beam. So that completes our discussion on singly reinforced beam. Okay. Any doubt to anybody so far? Only thing is, be careful while drawing the detailing. Don't do reverse this one. For a cantilever beam, your tension zone is at the top, so reinforcement will be at the top. Otherwise, they will know. They will think that you don't know anything about the behavior of cantilever beam, simply supported beam. Okay.